Howdy folks, today I am tying my hopper pattern. I typically use this for bass and panfish. I imagine that they'd work for trout as well, but I'm not sure, I haven't tried them yet. They aren't the most realistic. That's usually most of the patterns that I tie. I'm not super focused on hyper realistic patterns. I'm focused on patterns that catch fish that I can tie pretty easily and quick. Typically tie them in a green color. I also do brown, and I'm gonna do brown today because I lost all of my brown ones. And yeah, like I said, it's super simple, very easy. It looks close enough to a grasshopper that it tricks fish, not so close that I have to spend a lot of time tying it, or I have to buy fancy legs or anything like that. I'm using these size 8 White River all-purpose hooks, 3X long. When I tie them green, I just use some dry fly dubbing. Today, I'm actually going to use this rabbit fur dubbing that I made from a rabbit that I harvested like a year or two ago. If you're interested in that, I can make a video on how I made it, but it's also super easy. You just have to have a rabbit fur. I don't think this is the greatest wing material, but I'm using this. Sometimes I use squirrel tail because I also have squirrel tails. I have an abundance of them. And using some of these little silly legs, whatever you have. This is, again, what I have. I don't have any other legs other than this. And just some pearl flash. I'm also using some 2mm tan brown foam that I got from Michael's for super cheap. And the first thing we're going to do is tie on some flash. I'm gonna go down past the hook eye, but not to where it's starting to round. And I'm actually gonna go a little bit above that because of the way that I like to tie in the flash. And then I'm just gonna cut off a little bit, just a little smidge. Well, I'm actually gonna cut off a pretty decent sized chunk. Rather than fold it and all that, we're just gonna fold it after we tie it in. I'm gonna give it 2 wraps just to keep it there, but then I'm going to move it a little bit just to make sure it's sitting on top of the hook. And then I'm gonna fold it over and secure it. And we'll trim that up later. Now I'm gonna cut the foam maybe like a 1/4 inch wide. And since I have a lot of it and I don't want to end up tying on a piece that's too short, I might go 2-3 inches long. And then I'm gonna trim up the tail. And again, it doesn't have to be like super symmetric. You might like that look, but I guarantee you the fish does not care. You know, you don't want it to look ridiculous, but you know, close enough is close enough. I might trim it a little bit less wide, make it a little thinner. And you know, again, I try not to spend too much time with that because it just ends up getting to be such a pain in the neck. And I'm gonna pick this tail, go like just a smidge past the bend of the hook. And I'm gonna fold it over the hook and then do one kind of loose wrap and then another, and then just tighten it down. And if I like how that looks, which I do, it's close enough. And then I'm just gonna take a few wraps behind, I guess in front of the foam, just to build it up a little bit. And then we're gonna start with the dubbing, which this rabbit fur dubbing, I didn't mix it as well as I wish I had. So it can be a little bit of a pain. But at the same time, it's just super buggy, which is nice. It's what you want. This has got some of that lower down fur, but it also has some of their top coat. And I mean, with this, again, it's not pretty. It's not going to, you know, look super fine, but it looks nice and buggy. I don't really do a lot with dubbing, and so I know I'm not, my technique isn't the greatest. I really just appreciate that these will occasionally catch fish. This might be too much, but if it is, I'm just gonna take a few extra reps, one over the other, and we'll just have a nice fat hopper. So you don't want to get too close to the hook eye, because with the foam, it'll crowd it and it's just a real pain. So once we've got it close enough to where we want it to be, we're again going to pinch the foam and take one loose wrap, two loose wraps, and just kind of tighten it down. Check to see if I flipped it over, would it be where I wanted it? It is. And then I'm gonna tie in some legs. I'm just gonna take one strand. You can do others. Sometimes people like tie a knot in the leg to make it kind of like kinked out like grasshopper legs will be. Again, you can do that if you want. I'm not gonna do that. And then I'm gonna fold it. I'm actually going to put this loop on the other side, so it makes it a little easier when I tie in the next material. 1, 2 wraps. Spread your legs out so they're where you want them on the fly. And then I'm gonna take some of my wing material, just like a little bit of it. I go 2 wraps, and then I'm gonna fold it over again, making sure I don't misplace my wings. And you don't really have to secure that second fold in, because it's going to be secured anyway in a moment when we flip over the foam. One thing, so that your wing material doesn't flop down, we'll spin it and then flip it so that it doesn't get stuck as I'm securing the head of the hopper. And make sure that it is going horizontal to the hook eye, not in a diagonal. I don't like the way that one of those legs is looking, but it's really fine. Gonna go 2 and then just lock it in. 3rd one. And then we're gonna pull these legs back along with the head and just take some wraps to build up a little thread dam to kind of try to prop the hopper head up a little bit. And then we will whip finish it and call it good. Might do one more. And then I'm gonna just trim everything up. We're gonna cut this about like that. Split our legs. And then I like to trim this just like a 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch past the tail. And I might cut a little bit off the wing. And then I like to take a vertical cut on the edge of the foam just to round it out. And there you go. Like I said, it's not the prettiest fly out there, but it will fish.